Welcome to the URUR. My name is Jose. I am your host today. Today's date is August 5th, 2015. Here I am with Rob. How you doing, Rob?
I am tremendous. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
I feel. You know what's funny is I feel like I've done this before, like today. I feel like you've asked me how I've been doing, and I don't know. It's like the weirdest thing of deja vu. But anyhow,
Crazy, right?
I know.
These podcasts all run together.
Yeah.
But anyways, what you been doing?
You know what? Hold on. You know what?
Okay.
So real quick. Well, hold on. Ask me what you're gonna ask me. Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm gonna ask you is, what have you been up to?
Okay. I feel like I've done this before, but anyway. So, I work. I've been working Monday through Friday, and then I've been wrestling on the weekends. So, my life is very simple. I eat, sleep, I work, I go to the gym, and I wrestle. That is my life. Very simple. Little to no sleep. But in addition to that, here's something very unique about me. It's very unique about me. I actually, on certain occasions, it's very rare, but I have this power. Okay, and I can read minds, and I'm trying to read your mind right now.
Okay, read my mind.
And right now, the forces in the galaxy, in the stratosphere, are there. I'm feeling it right now. Okay, and right now, my mind is telling me that your mind is about to is telling you to ask me about Hulk Hogan.
Oh, brother. Oh, brother. How'd you know? How'd you know?
I don't know, but I just that power, you know. I feel it in my bones, and it's boom, there it goes.
Well, you're right. You're right. What are your thoughts on the Hulkster? He said he had some words, and he's having some issues with WWE. And what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that he made a very big mistake. You know, he stuck his foot in his mouth.
Yeah.
But it was about his daughter apparently dating an African American, and he didn't like that.
But it was 8 years ago, though, where he made that statement.
This is true. Like, what he said was wrong, but at the same time, he did think. I mean, I'm not trying to defend him by any means, because that was very wrong of him to say.
Right.
But at the same time, there is he was in what he thought an intimate setting, private. He didn't think that, you know, what was going on that day, because it was part of his sex tape. I'm not sure. Okay. So he was recorded while he was having sex without his consent. He consented to the sex, but not the recording. Brother. And then, I mean, God, he's in his 60s and he's still getting it on. Man, good for him. But anyway, and then he's recorded saying these horrible things. So, you know, was that right for him to be recorded? No. And was it right for him to say what he said? No. But I'm sure each and every one of us, you know, there are times in our lives when we say certain things that we probably wouldn't want others to hear.
Yeah,
you know,
that's pretty. Yeah.
Oh no, I know. I mean, that's pretty bad. But you know, WWE severed ties with him. I mean, they're a publicly traded company, so they got to do what they got to do. So.
I just think it's funny how he's Hulk Hogan, the real American, you know, and he gets caught doing this stuff, a representation of America, real American, and with all this civil unrest, it's kind of funny that a symbol of America would turn out to be, you know, this guy saying racist, you know, comments on this video. I just think it's so funny.
It's true. I mean, but somebody once said it was a wrestler. I can't remember which wrestler said this, but never meet your heroes, because they don't turn out to what you thought they'd be. But I saw a funny meme that said, you can live long enough to die a hero, or you can die a hero, or you can live long enough to become a villain. And had a picture of Hulk. But you know, poor guy. I mean, I kind of feel for him, but then I don't, because I mean, it was just a horrible thing for him to say, or horrible comments for him to say.
Right.
But you know, this is where our country has come. Speaking of racism, though,
Okay.
let's go to. They were just the other day on CNN. They were showing the Ferguson cop who shot Michael Brown. Now he was never convicted of anything, which caused an uproar.
Right.
But since then, is quote unquote, from what he said, he's been unemployable,
Mm-hmm.
and of course he's received death threats and such. And then I was watching; it was real interesting because CNN was showing a picture of him, the cop, side by side with Michael Brown. And what was interesting was the picture of the cop, the white cop. He looked very. He was. It wasn't the most flattering picture, to say the least. He wasn't smiling. And then the pictures on the right were of Michael Brown. I think he was like in his cap and gown from high school, not high school, but maybe middle school. I don't know. They were cute little photos that made him look very innocent. What they didn't show was him pushing the owner or the cashier at the convenience store as he was robbing it. You know,
Wow.
it's like the way it's painted is like, oh, this poor innocent guy was murdered and killed. Well, let's look at what was going on. He was in the middle of committing a crime, and that's why he encountered the police, and he did not surrender the way he should have. Really should have been committing the crime. But even more interesting, even more mind blowing than that, I was in Memphis, Tennessee this past Saturday wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a very large African American community, and I like Memphis. I like the people there. I like wrestling there. It's a great town to wrestle in. It's rich in wrestling tradition. Come to find out the next day, I didn't know this while I was leaving Memphis late Saturday night, but found out the next day that that very night, a white police officer was killed by an African American, um, and that got very little media attention. Uh,
Crazy.
it's like had the white cop successfully defended himself and actually killed the other guy, you know, I think this would have been all over the news, since Saturday. And because it's the other way around, it got very, very little attention. And I think that that's wrong. And so they don't want to change the narrative. The way the stories are painted, they don't want to change the narrative. So, black citizen kills white cop, you know, on a routine traffic stop. And
Right.
that's kind of like the point of everything is like these cops, and when these incidents occur, always occur on like a routine traffic stop. And you know, in this case, the cop, he didn't go home at night. He didn't go home to his family. And so when these people, when these cops have to use deadly force, they have to use it. They use it because they have to protect themselves and protect others. And when they use it, they're now, unless of course they kill a white person, then oh, it's perfectly fine. But if a black person is killed or a Hispanic is killed, then it makes national attention. Um, so it's weird how the narrative is being done.
What are your thoughts on these candidates? We have the Republican debate coming up
Tomorrow,
tomorrow. Are you going to watch it?
I am. I live for that kind of stuff. I'm going to be very interested to see how it all plays out.
We definitely have an interesting debate. The first time Donald Trump is going to step on the debate forum, I
Right.
think it to be great. I think a lot of people are going to tune in
Oh,
just
yeah.
to see what he's going to say, because that guy is hilarious, in my opinion.
He is. I think he's going to be very strong. Um,
To be a bully?
I don't know. I don't know if they're thinking, if his people are telling him, well, hey, maybe this is since you're in the spotlight now, maybe this is your time to show that you can be diplomatic and, maybe lay out a policy agenda. I don't know. Or he can just keep doing what he's doing, because honestly, what he's doing, I mean, it's working. He keeps going high, he keeps, increasing his numbers in the polls. So, I don't know. It's kind of like you got to tune in to find out what's going to happen. And, anytime there's that, you must tune in to see what's going to happen. Ratings are always going to be through the roof. So, and it's good for Fox News and their ratings. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Ted Cruz will be on the stage. That'll be interesting. Another knucklehead. Who else is here? Who's the other crazies that are going to be on there?
It's all packed full of crazies, if you
It
think about it.
is. It is. Except I think Governor Kasich is a good candidate. As is, I think Jeb Bush is not as. I don't think Jeb Bush is extreme like his other counterparts. or his other colleagues.
Well, this is a
That,
chance for him to kind of come up, and we would have thought he would have had more of a wave coming in, but he's really been laying low, kind of. Is this, do you think, maybe his big opening?
this, this is a good opportunity for him. I mean, I don't think he needs to take the fight to anybody. Um, if it comes to him, it comes to him.
He
Like
needs to
Trump.
remind people he's still there.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think ultimately, my gut tells me Jeb Bush will get the nomination. I mean, that's just how I feel.
Gut feeling.
My gut, like Bush said, sometimes you got to go with your gut. But
I think it will be
no,
fun because from seeing Donald Trump on all these other interviews, he's really a guy that just, I feel he doesn't prepare at all. I feel like he's just going to go in there and wing it, and he's just going to
but
speak his mind and bully people.
he's like, but he's going against the traditional, political playbook. I mean, it's like it's complete opposite of what the game plan is. And I've run for political office back in, what was it, 2009 here for city politics, city council, and I can tell you, like there's like you have to you have to filter yourself. You have
Yeah.
to because you make one misstep and then it blows up, and you you go to an establishment and you find out that establishment did this wrong, and then you're associated with them even though you were just there to buy a soda or something.
Right.
I mean, you have to be very, very careful.
Well,
And
look at his track record, though. Whenever he speaks, he doesn't have a filter at all, and I kind of feel like that's what most people, the most people who are supporting him, I kind of feel like that's the draw when it comes to him. Like that's what
yeah,
is appealing.
but and again, I mean, this is the Republican. This is probably the very, very extreme conservative base of
True.
the Republican Party.
True.
And it's interesting that the former governor was it Haley Barbour? I want to say he was the former chair of the Republican National Committee. Back then he was saying they need to elect or nominate a candidate that's going to, appeal to some people that are, center left. You know what I mean? Uh, because think about it, like Reagan was able to get 60% of the vote. So was Nixon. They were able to get 60% of the vote because, they kind of reached across to get that middle ground.
Right.
The people that are just in the middle. And what they're doing here is they're just going far right and they're alienating the middle. They're not going to win,
of course,
an election like that.
They're splintering the Republican Party.
But Clinton also did that. Clinton kind of made himself to be a center candidate, and so he could get some of that vote. And Trump is the extreme base, the extremists of the party. That's who he appeals to. And I think ultimately they need to, Republicans need to look at, as do Democrats, okay, who's going to give us the best chance to win in November? Because that's what you really have to look at. You're not going to, if you go with a candidate who agrees with all your views, all your views may not be, not everybody agrees on the same thing. So you need somebody that's electable. You have to compromise. That's part of the deal. Right now we've got a do nothing Congress because nobody's willing to compromise.
Right. And will that make a difference if we do get a Democrat in office at this point anyways?
No. Here's the thing. For change to happen, like before, you could reach across party lines, you can get stuff done. When Clinton was president, they were able to balance the budget with a Republican majority in Congress. They were able to get things passed. They were able to work with each other. And now it's like they're not. The Republicans are not willing to work and reach across the aisle and get things done. That they want to. I've heard recently that they want to shut down the government because the whole Planned Parenthood controversy. They don't want to fund it. And it's funny because Jeb Bush had said, well, no government, especially our government, should fund abortions. Just so everybody knows, the government does not fund abortions. But they say that, so it's associated with Planned Parenthood, and people think, well, if our government is funding abortions. That's not the case. Abortions are not funded by the government. It's just another lie that's thrown out there to get people to, react a certain way. But uh, I have no idea where I was going with that,
Well,
man.
kind of touching base on that. What, why are they really trying to cut funding to Planned Parenthood then?
Well, as of now, it's always been about the abortion issue.
Right.
And so right now, with the whole videos that came out about people associated with Planned Parenthood selling body parts and things like that, or organs, um, which is wrong. I mean, it's alarming. I think I think if you're a liberal, or if you're if you're on that side of the aisle and you're not alarmed by that, there's a problem there. You shouldn't. I mean, I'm all in favor of women's rights, and that's a woman's choice. I mean, I'm in no position to make that choice. Um, I think it's you have to protect women's rights. Our abortion, like, to me, I don't think my only opinion on that, on abortions, is that they shouldn't be used as a form of birth control. Um, but if the Republican stance on this whole thing is that they're not in favor. They want to overturn Roe v. Wade, which was decided in like the 70s. They've just never been able to get over it. But I think right now they're using this whole video thing that came out about the selling of the body parts as a way to really derail Planned Parenthood as a whole.
So they're using that as like their master plan. This is the way we're gonna bury the hatchet. This is the way we're gonna get rid of.
I think so.
This.
The problem with that is that, like, for example, let's say you outlaw abortion. Well, then what's going to happen is you're going to have back alley abortions. You're going to have, you can have people throwing themselves down the stairs, stuff like that. It's a woman's choice. That's my opinion on it. I think, like I said, it shouldn't be used as a form of birth control. But, what about women? You have to, if you're a man, you'll never be in that position, for one. And that's why I think it's a woman's choice. But, think about this. Imagine, all the men out there, imagine yourselves as a father and your daughter's raped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, then what? I mean, does she have the baby? Does she, you know what I mean? There's decisions to be made there. But it's easier for people to say, well, we're a Christian family, and even if that happened, we would make this decision. And it's very hard to say that you would, what decision you would make until it actually happens, because you really don't know what it's like until that's actually happening. I mean, I never wish that on anybody, but I mean, people can't say that they would act a certain way, if that happened. You know what I mean? If they were in that situation.
Right. And I mean, there are facts out there. I mean, let's look at New York City in the 80s and how much crime there was at that time. I know I've read some article, or maybe it was on a documentary, they were talking about how when they started having abortion clinics pop up in New York City, a lot of people were having this same type of outcry. And then you look towards, I guess, the end of the 90s, and all of a sudden the crime drastically went down low, and everyone praised the mayor, of course, but people didn't realize that a lot of these issues that were going on at the time was because, yeah, they did have abortions that happened during that time, during the time in the 80s. And you thought about this population of kids who grew up without families that weren't existent. They didn't exist. And, these people that didn't have any families, or, that would have been on the street or would have been orphans, instead of going into crime and getting into a lot of these dangerous acts, they just weren't there. They weren't there to commit these crimes. I mean, that's one way of thinking about it. I know that we think about how we don't want to, kill a baby or anything like that, but I don't think people see the long-term effects of that child in the end being born, an unwanted child, due to maybe a rape victim, or maybe due to just a woman that doesn't see herself being able to take care of this child for whatever reason. We don't know the circumstances. And they go through a process, and they wake up, the kid grows up, and he has, he ends up doing things that obviously are questionable. And there's so many different ways to look at it. in the end, I mean, what is the most responsible thing? The only person that could ask that question would be the mother at that point. I hate to say that, but a lot of people will disagree with me. You know, the way I see it is you're doing a responsible thing. Either take care of the child, be there for the child, or if it's just an experience that you're going through that you just can't handle, you just out of all the circumstances, this is the best option. Unfortunately, that's a hard choice that the mother will have to make, and like you said, we'll never have to go through that, and I'm glad that I don't have to make that decision.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's not. I mean, and some unfortunately do use it as a form of birth
Yeah.
control, and that's wrong. But you know, it's just it gets a very bad rap. It's people. It's all people are okay with things until it happens to them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh, I'm in favor of this law, and then but once it like you have to. People should think in terms of, especially people who have children. You know, what if it was your child? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, when people, for example, there's this right recently. When was it? A few weeks back, the Supreme Court, approved gay marriage for the entire country.
All right. Right.
And there are opponents of that, and there are conservatives that are against that, and it's like, okay, well, what happens when your child comes out of the closet and tells you, well, mom, dad, I'm gay? You know, would you want to deny your child the right to be happy? Like, I mean, think about that. What if that was your child? How would you treat your child? You know what I mean? That's just one example. But people, and some parents disown their kids, which is wrong. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It's 2015. Some people just need to, have you ever seen that What Would You Do with John Quinones?
Oh yeah, yeah, I love that show.
He did the one where the interracial couple,
Yeah.
and this one old lady was just like, I don't mind. She said something along the lines of that she likes African Americans, but I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure I'm close to spot on what she was saying. She said their kind should stay with their kind. Like, are you? And people, and it's just amazing that there are people out there that think like that. And it's kind of like here we go. We're full circle. It's like Hulk Hogan. He didn't want his daughter with a black man.
Yeah.
It's like, like, are you kidding me? It's 2015. We're not living. Well, for Hogan it was 8 years ago, but still,
Right.
it's 2015. We're not living in the 1950s.
Right.
It's like and it's amazing how some people, it's like they've been dropped on their head and they think, you know,
Well, I mean,
we're
it's something that's been passed down from generation to generation. I mean, I think a child that's 13, growing up with his family, with his grandfather who still has a rebel
racist.
flag, it's like he's not gonna know any better unless he opens his mind and he's a critical thinker.
But and then it's like the fraternity, the OU fraternity, they got
yeah.
disbanded and done away with. That song where, I mean, it's using the N word over and over, and it's like that chant that they had. Okay, that there was some racism in that fraternity.
Yeah.
For years, and for the house mom to supposedly not know that. Come on, you didn't know that they were all chanting.
Just blind, blissfully blind. Sometimes, don't you wish you were blissfully just blind, ignorant?
Ignorance is bliss. It's like oh, well, we didn't know. Really, you didn't know? Well, where the hell did they learn the song from? Where did they learn the song from?
Like come on.
They just picked it up off the street. I mean, really?
Nah, come on.
It's amazing though.
It's amazing what people do. People actually, well, it's true if you think about it. One of my big things is, my parents are devout Catholics, and so we do the whole Catholic thing on Christmas time and everything. But just like any other Catholic, well, not like a majority of Catholics, I'll say. You go to the house, and some Sundays you're not at church. That's just how it goes. And I kind of laugh sometimes because a lot of the things that we end up doing sometimes around Christmas time or around April, you question them and you ask, okay, so why do we do this? And these people cannot tell you why they do it. They just hush you. Oh no, don't worry about it. This is something we do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
wait, why am I the bad guy if I'm the one questioning it? I just want to know why we're doing what we're doing. Like, why do we do that? And people just blindly just do it because their grandmother,
Right.
taught them how to do this. And that's the first thing I tell them. I was like, no, like, we need to be critical thinkers, and if we find a better way to do things and we have a good reason, then it's okay to question it, And I think that's a problem. People don't do that. It's like
people are
they lazy.
People lazy and they're sheep. Like,
yeah.
2 weeks ago, people were told to be in an uproar about the rebel flag. Everybody has since forgotten about the rebel flag because Cecil the Lion was shot and killed by a dentist.
Right. That's like the next thing, right? So
it's like,
okay,
what's next? And people forget. It's like this is the United States of amnesia.
Yeah.
we forget. But back to your point about questioning stuff,
right?
And let's talk religion.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I was raised, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I was raised as Catholic, and I had to go and go to school and do my communion,
confirmation, all that jazz.
Confirmation,
Same here, yeah.
And I didn't know. I mean, as a kid, you're told, okay, there's a heaven and there's a hell if you're bad, and so on. Somebody's honking at me in this park. I apologize. Remember, this is Rob at the gym.
At the gym, yes. And this is a good place to kind of put in this is a good place to remind everybody that at any point right now, my wife could come in and interrupt this podcast. So if she comes in, just beware. And Rob is at a parking lot right now.
I am. So things I could die, like, doing this thing. But anyway, I'm willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. So, but back to this whole thing. So I'm raised as a Catholic, and I'm told, there's heaven, there's hell, there's God, there's Jesus, whatever, the whole works.
Right.
And you grow up believing this because as a kid, you're very gullible. Your mind is developing.
You believe in Santa.
Yeah.
The Tooth Fairy.
You take all of this as as truth. You're learning, your mind is developing, you're learning shit in school, and so and when you're young, you don't know whether to shit or wind your watch. You have no idea what the fuck's going on. So
yeah.
So growing up, it's like, so I'm believing all this, and then as I get older, I get into college. People around, I lose my grandpa, I lose my uncle. I started losing people. I lost a very, very close friend who was training to wrestle with me. And you lose people, and all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck. Well, what happens, when you die? What exactly does happen? And then I took a philosophy class at St. Mary's, and I got to thinking, well, fuck, what does happen when you die? Is that not a valid question?
Yeah, and that's funny that you took that philosophy class in St. Mary's, which happens to be a Catholic school, right?
Yes, and I went to a Catholic institution. But what was great about St. Mary's is that, and this is what I love, they didn't force
religion.
The Catholic. Yeah, I mean, you had to take. There were theology classes you had to take, but you had options. And so, I did take a course. Learning about the Old and the New Testament, and that was very interesting in and of itself. But never at any point was the religion forced upon. I mean, we had people who were on that campus that were Jewish, who believed in Allah, the Quran. So it was very diverse. So at no point was it. It was more so the attitude was, let's learn about everybody's cultures and religions, and,
right.
Which was really good. It's not a very conservative school, so that's probably why that's the case. It's a little more liberal.
That's interesting. But anyways, you took the philosophy class, and
I did, and so it gets me thinking. Okay, what happens when you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a valid question. I mean, nobody truly knows the answer. Nobody does. Nobody has the answer. And what's wrong with saying, "Well, I don't know"? Like, because nobody knows. Nobody. Nobody knows.
Nobody died, came back with a handbook and said, read chapter 3. 7's pretty good. This will walk you through everything.
In the shit that's in the Bible, it's like there's some stuff that's and people are very selective as far as what they want to pick and choose from the Bible.
Absolutely.
But I saw this very interesting a fellow wrestler of mine. He's an atheist, and he posted this picture of a person looking into the mirror, and into the mirror looking back at them was Jesus, and it said something along the lines of, you believe he's real because he's made up in your mind. That's why he agrees with you all the time. That's why everything in the Bible speaks true to you, because it's all in your mind, or something along those lines. And it's like nobody knows. Nobody knows. Like, I don't know if Jesus really existed. I don't know if there is a God. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have those answers. Like, science tells me that no, like, that's not possible.
Well, a lot of the stories aren't possible, yeah. I mean, there's some stories, like, later on that you could see that there's proof that some stuff really happened. I'm not talking about Noah's Ark or anything like that.
Right.
But, yeah, the first stuff, you're kind of questioning, like, wait, did this really happen? And you're...
Exactly. One thing one of my professors told me in one of my my theology courses, where we're talking about the Old and the New Testament, he said... he was saying his opinion was that, some of these stories that you read in the Bible, they're not meant to be taken literally.
Well,
as having occurred. For example, parting of the Red Sea, shit like that.
Right.
He was saying there are morals to the story, like you need to take the message versus the actual. You can't take that literally having happened.
And people do. Yes, yeah.
Some people actually believe, that there are Christians out there that believe that the Earth is 2,000 years old. Is that right? Is it 2,000 or how many years is it?
Yeah,
in the Bible.
Yeah, I think it's something ridiculous like that. I forget what it is.
When science tells us that the Earth was how many billions of years old or millions of years old?
6.4 or something like that. I don't know.
It shows how much I've paid attention in my.
Same here.
But still, the Bible tells us this and that, and it just doesn't add up with what facts tell us, with what science tells us.
Right.
And so it's just I've always questioned that. Like, I mean, what do you think happens when we die, Jose?
Oh my gosh, I'm in the hot seat, Arson.
Oh yeah, bro.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think we're supposed to know. I think if we were supposed to know, we'd know. And the thing about it is, I really feel that life is a journey. Not to get all fucking hippie, here, but I do think it's a journey. I think we're here to learn about, each other, and we are supposed to be introspective. I remember one night I went out drinking with a couple friends, and I wasn't drinking, but I was driving everybody home, and one of my buddies was like, I forget how we started talking, but he totally blew my mind. He was just like, I'm going to paraphrase, of course, because what he said was profound, and what I'm going to say is going to sound like shit. But we were sitting in the car, and I was just dropping him off, and we were talking about the Big Bang, and I was kind of telling him, I was just kind of telling him, like, well, what if it's this big, giant, elastic thing that just cycles over and over and over again? It just, contracts, explodes, contracts, and just keeps going over, and this is like the millionth time. And, he kind of sat there and thought about it, and he told me something along the lines of, we are all made up of the same exact matter as everything around us. We are stardust, literally. We are stardust. And, all of us, if you think about it, we are all subatomic particles. We're all the same. So if we're all the same, we are all this universe. And pretty much we're here made for the universe to learn what it is, to be introspective and to question what I am. That's what he's saying. And the universe is doing it through us, And I was just like, I just couldn't drive anymore. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And it made me realize that he's right. We are all cosmic dust, and we're all made out of the same thing. And so everything that's happening, it's not necessarily meaningless. You know, we're supposed to learn from that, but as we grow and as we do things, as we fail and as we fall, as we, you know, every error that we're making, you know, the whole universe is learning. So whatever happens to me after this, all I'll know is that I'm going to be part of the universe, some shape, way, or form. You know, because that's what science tells me. I'm not really worried about what's really going to happen afterwards. I think the thought of death to me, unlike other people that are kind of scared, they're scared because this is their reality. This is the reality that they know, and that comforts them. And for me, it's like, this is reality now, but I'm kind of curious also what's going to happen next, you know? And I kind of know that everything will happen in its time. I kind of feel like I don't believe in destiny and shit like that. I do think like if you're an asshole, you're gonna do fucking asshole things, and some shit's gonna happen to you, you know. And nice things, you know, bad things happen to nice people too. But it's all about the universe. I do feel that we're all connected in some shape or form. I can list different reasons here, but I do think that me and you are connected in a weird way.
Yeah,
it's a weird vibration, a weird energy that we all have. And fuck, man, the more I talk, I sound like a fucking hippie. But you know, I don't really think there's a real heaven or a real bearded man waiting for me in these gates or whatever, you know. But you know, I think when the Bible tells you that you can reach heaven, I think it's trying to tell you if you follow these rules, it could be, your life could be heaven. Because I've experienced things where I've said, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna listen to this Bible shit, and it led me to fucking hell. I woke up one day and I said, I'm in fucking hell. And you know, you understand. Yeah. You get me, you know?
I get you. And it's like, you know, and I think I'm like, you know, I'm not saying, I could be wrong.
Okay.
You know, or I'm not, okay, I'm not, wait. Let me go back. I don't know.
Right.
But like, there could be a God, there could be a heaven, there, you know, there could be, you know, there could be that. And
the possibility is there. I'm not pretentious enough to say, you know what, there isn't, because I don't know.
Exactly. I'm not ruling that out.
Right.
You know, but sometimes I think, you know, some of the shit that happens, I'm like, fuck, maybe this is hell. Maybe like we're all, no, I'm serious. Like maybe we're all living in hell, and you know
we're paying for fucking sins right now.
Yeah,
now you know
like,
it.
I'm serious.
Yeah, it's true. No. It might be.
But, fuck. I mean, but what you say is, you know, when you talk about we're all interconnected, we are, and like for me, I am afraid of death. Like that's my biggest fear.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't seem like a guy that would be.
I am. It scares the shit out of me. Like I cannot. I mean, I've had panic attacks.
Okay, but why does this happen though? Why is it the fear of death? You don't know where you're gonna go. Is that the thing? Is that
exactly? I don't know what's gonna happen, and my biggest fear is that like I don't want it to be like I don't want to. I would as crazy as this fucking sounds, I'd rather there be a heaven and hell, and I would rather be assigned to hell for eternity and know that there is something on the other side than there not being anything, as crazy as that fucking sounds. But because I don't want to just clock out and that's it and there's nothing afterwards and just cease to exist.
Just
like
blackness.
I don't want... Yes, like that fucking scares the shit out of me. Like I'm fucking scared. And I think most people are scared, but you know, especially the diehard Christians are like, oh no, you know, I'm okay with dying. Bull fucking shit. I don't think anybody's okay with fucking dying.
Well, like, let me just go back a little bit. Like if you think about it, when it comes to energy, okay, just energy, nothing, you know, and there's this famous equation that proves that with energy, there's nothing lost or nothing gained. Think about that for a little bit.
Right. Exactly.
So you can't disappear. You know, you can't cease to exist. Like, something's going to happen. I feel like you're just going to evolve into something else. You're just going to transcend into a whole different thing. And I think it's awesome. It's like a great surprise, you know?
Oh, my God.
Think about that.
You're scaring the shit out of me right
what?
now.
What?
Yeah,
Why?
because, you know, I honestly... in a perfect world, I would love for there to be heaven. I hope there is. I hope there's a heaven.
Okay, yeah.
I hope there's an afterlife.
Well,
But
what would be the heaven for Rob? What's Rob's heaven?
what's my heaven?
Yes,
Oh,
when you wake up, you've croaked, you kicked the bucket, you wake up. What do you see in your heaven? What is the ideal heaven for you?
you know, like most, I would like to see my because obviously my mom will be dead by then. And other family members, my grandpa and everything. He's already, he's already gone to the other side. So he knows the answer that I don't know. Uh, but I would hope to see my family and just the people that I love and I don't know. I mean, just something where it's just peaceful and like I don't know, something just very nice.
What would
Like
that something be?
I don't know.
What
Like,
brings peace to your life? Would it be a
well,
wrestling ring?
wrestling brings peace. Like seriously, if I could wrestle for eternity, that would be awesome. Like, you know, because that's the only thing. Like, let me tell you, because
Mm-hmm.
people ask me, I get asked all the time, well, why do you wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
Because well, one, we don't get paid a lot of money.
Right.
On the independent level, of course, if you make it to WWE, well, that's a different story. But
Mm-hmm.
on the independent level, we don't make a lot of money. We get hurt. I mean, I'm in constant. I have so many nagging injuries and stuff. It's just at this point, and there are some mornings after a show where it's like I can't even, it'll take me like 15, 20 minutes to roll out of bed. And so people ask me like, well, why do you do it? Like, well, one, I was a fan growing up, and it's something that like when I was a kid, I always said, well, this is like teachers would say, well, Robert, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, well, I want to be a wrestler. Oh, no. You need to think of like a doctor, or be a teacher. But like, that's what I wanted to be. And so I was like, you only live once, obviously. You only have one life to my not. Well, it does.
We don't know that.
I don't know. Okay. I can't say that there's not reincarnation, but to me, I treat it like I only have one life. I only have one opportunity. And so I went after it and I grabbed it. Right. But what I realized was like, so when I was a fan of wrestling, I would go to wrestling shows and I would watch and I'd be like, I would get lost for the 3 hours of the show. Like I would forget about all my problems, and not that a kid has a lot of problems, but I wouldn't worry about school. I wouldn't worry about anything. Like nothing in the world existed but that wrestling, like, but what was going on in that ring.
You're in the moment.
And, right. As a fan, I was caught up in the whole thing. And then when I left the arena, it was like, okay, it's back to reality.
Yeah.
But so what I found was when I started wrestling on the shows, it was a totally different experience as far as it's very surreal. So when I go out there, it's like it's not really happening. Like, it almost feels like I'm watching a movie through the eyes of somebody.
No way.
It's very, very, it's weird. It's very surreal. And so, but what I love about it is that I enjoy it very, 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 very much. It's an adrenaline rush like no other. It's almost like a drug. And what happens is I forget about everything in the world. I don't worry about dying. I don't worry about my bills. I don't worry about any relationship issues that I may have. I don't worry about anything. Like, it's just the only thing that matters is what's going on in that ring and the fans. And that's it. And
Okay.
it's like, for me, that's heaven, because to not have to, like, imagine a world with no problems, where you didn't have any problems.
Mm-hmm.
You had no bills.
Yep.
You had no deaths. You had nothing. Okay. I mean, no problem. That's what I feel when I'm in the ring. Like, I'm not worried about anything else. Like, there could be bombs going on outside of the building, and I wouldn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just it's crazy. But for me, so what would heaven be like? Hey, if there's a ring up in heaven, like, and I could wrestle for eternity, then that'd be awesome.
Well, see, this is what I think, because I feel the same way. I feel like when I play guitar, when I'm in a band, when I'm writing a song, when I'm playing a song, I'm lost. That's the cool thing, because I can do it by myself. Or if I'm writing a story, anything like that, I can identify with that a lot. Plus, same thing with acting. That's why I started drama when I was in high school, because you're in the moment, and all the problems that you have just disappear, and you're exactly. Locked there. Yeah. So, with that said, though, I kind of feel that the heaven that we picture ourselves, we're pulling from things that we know.
Right.
And all these things, like you said, wrestling, and I said movies, I can get lost in a movie, I can get lost in a song. these things, if you think about it, they're all man-made, and they're all in our dimension, and this is our way of understanding things. So
Right.
logically, we're going to heaven. We're going to pick all the things that we know. I just
Right.
have this intuitive. My intuition tells me that it's something way bigger than that, something that we cannot grasp, something that we cannot imagine. I think that it's like like the next level.
Right.
We're gonna transcend into something else, and we're gonna find inner peace. And there's gonna be we're gonna find that peace at that location. I can't speak and say what it is, obviously, because I don't know it. But I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be something that's totally different than what we actually know.
Right.
I mean, that's only a guess because we look out to the galaxy and we see the beauty of what it is, and then we think about how our energy can be transformed and what it can become. We have no way
Right.
of knowing. So the only thing that we can understand is if something were to happen and we're taken to some place, all I know is that it's something that none of us will be able to understand unless we go through it. And obviously, nobody has been able to come back from that to tell us
Right.
what it is. And that's why I think, for one, we're not supposed to know. Two, it's something that we wouldn't even be able to put into words, you know?
Yeah. And here's the other crazy thing is that like we live on planet Earth,
Yeah,
which is so small in our universe, you know. And then you look at the galaxy and like how many galaxies are there? Weren't there like
exactly.
thousands? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The probabilities of there being another Earth or
Hmm.
something like it and other life out there is just, I mean, it probably exists, you know. So I
Probably.
mean, like, how does that explain? Like, okay, well, because if you look at what the Bible says, well, God created the earth in 7 days. Okay, all right. So there's no such thing as a Big Bang. But okay, so what did he do with the other galaxies? Like, is he just, is he like, well, okay, like, are we just part of one of his little creations, his or her? I don't know if God's a he or she, and or if it's even a sex.
Hmm.
Is God even a sex? So anyway, but it's like, what is this? Like, I mean, we're just such a small piece of this whole grand scheme of things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're
Okay,
just not even a dot, It's just, oh,
we're
the,
a blip. We're a little blip.
my gosh. You can't even begin to try to understand how small we are, how small we truly are. You just
Yeah,
think of how large the sun is compared to how large our galaxy is, compared to how large other galaxies are, compared to the biggest black hole there is out there. It's
yeah,
just, that's what blows my mind. You know,
yeah. It's mind blowing.
yeah, like you're insignificant. We're talking
Right,
about us in our lives and our bills and all this stuff, but in reality, we're just insignificant. We're so insignificant compared to this grand, big space that we
right,
live in. And we're getting to the part where we don't know what we're talking about. There could be astrophysicists that still question. They know way more than I ever will, and they're still questioning a lot of these things, and they're trying to figure it out. And the more they figure out, the more questions that arise. So that's why I'm kind of like, well, if they don't know,
yeah,
I'm kind of like, what am I doing
yeah.
trying to figure it out?
Right, right, exactly. I mean, it's crazy, but like, no, it's just. I think we are all interconnected. I do agree with that.
Yeah,
And it's just, the afterlife, or if there is an afterlife, that's what the interesting part is. And
it's interesting.
it scares the shit out of me, man.
Can't
I
believe
just
it.
I celebrated my 25th birthday recently, and
Woo!
back in back, last month, and thank you. And so I was like, I said to myself, shit, I'm 25. I've lived, what is it? I've lived a quarter of a century. Is that right?
Oh my God, you're
So
that type of thinker, really?
yeah,
I don't think
and
about
I'm
that.
like, I'm like, fuck, 25 years. I said, so at best, if I'm lucky, what I have, 50 years left on this earth, maybe, if
Oh
I'm
come
lucky.
on, don't think
It's
about
like
it that
70.
day.
That gives me to 75. But here's the thing: is that I'm a professional wrestler, so we don't have a long lifespan. Like wrestlers die at age 50, age 60. Now granted, a lot of the wrestlers back in the day that was due to there was drug abuse, and all that. I can't say that I abuse the hard drugs or anything like that. I do have prescription medication for my pain. I'm not gonna lie. I have muscle relaxers. I like to drink. Sometimes I mix the two. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I can't. I mean, sometimes I'll be so banged up, and I'll be like, well, fuck, I'm gonna go and drink, and I can drink 12 beers without a problem. I like vodka, so some of the stuff and I've chewed tobacco before. I've quit. It's been 6 months since I've chewed, but I've done things that aren't the most healthiest things to do, and so and that comes with that just comes with sometimes it comes with a lifestyle, and so um, but as wrestlers we don't have a long lifespan. Most wrestlers die, at 40 or 50 or whatever. So,
And speaking about wrestlers and lifespans, we did lose Roddy Piper.
yes, we did. Yeah, he's a great guy. One of the he was like the first bad guy, the real true villain. Like he could make you hate him. Um, so it was sad to lose a legend like that. In 2003 he said he was gonna make 65. He was like he goes, let's be real, I'm not gonna make 65. Like he said that in an interview with Brian Gumbel, if I'm not mistaken.
Crazy.
And sure enough, I mean, he dies at what, 61? You know, so it's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope I can live as long as I can. If I could live to 100, great. If I could find the fountain of youth before then, even better. But like, turning 25, it made me realize, well, shit, I'm just getting older and older. Like, you know, like being a kid, you're so innocent. You don't think about stuff like that. You just live your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, now as I'm older, I'm like, I don't have much time.
Stuff starts breaking down.
Yeah, you have to you have to buckle down, in terms of your career and you have to think like, for wrestling, I'm grinding at it, but I don't know how much time I have, to be able to do that because once you hit 30, 30 is the ideal point. Either you make it or break it. You either make or break it, and so it'll be interesting. And then of course I have my other career choices that I'm going through, but life goes by fast, man. Like 25 years went by pretty quick. What are you? You're younger than me, if I'm not mistaken.
I wish.
Or you're older than me.
Yes, Rob. Yes, I'm older than you.
Well, but do you mind me asking how old you are?
Oh, geez. You have to do it right now? Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm 31.
See, that's hard to believe. I thought I was guessing 27. But
I wish. A lot of people say that, but no, I'm 31.
You're 31. So hasn't 31 years gone by pretty fucking quick for you?
It has. As soon as I hit 25, I think that's when I lost track of how old I was. At one point, I thought I was 33, and then my brother's like, "No, dude, you're 31."
Right. The other day I was asked, in Memphis, I was talking to the promoter, and he's like, "How old are you, man?" And I'm like, I had to stop and think.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck. I go, "Oh, I'm 25." But it's crazy how to stop and think because I'm like, am I 24? Am I 25? Am I?
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's gone by so quick, and it's like before I know it, I'm gonna be 60, hopefully 60, and it's gonna be like, oh god, like. For me, I'm going to panic. I call it like once you're 70, 75, I should say, I call it being in the waiting room for death. And when I'm in that waiting room, I'm going to be panicking like daily. I'm going to be like, fuck me. I'm just going to have panic attacks every day. It's crazy. I'm afraid. Like, it scares the living daylights out of me. It's just like, it's so scary. Like, I recently was in the hospital. What was it? A month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I was with I was with a friend, and let's call it a special friend. But I was gonna get frozen yogurt, and all of a sudden, like, and I've had heart issues before. Like my heart is larger than that of the normal person, the normal human. Um, because of what I do, my cardiologist is like, well, you have an athlete's heart. It tends to be a little bit bigger. It beats harder. So I'm used to like having certain situations where like I can feel my heart beat very, very strong. But like this, I thought like, man, I thought I was having a heart attack, man. Like literally, I was about to throw up, and like they say that's the sign of a heart attack, and you have arm pain and this and that. And so I was like, I almost called an ambulance. Like it was that bad.
Wow.
And so I ended up being able to drive myself to the hospital. Um, and I went to the hospital and they took me. And I told them, I was like, listen, this is my previous heart conditions. I can, I have nothing serious. It's just that I have a larger heart. And, I said, look, I had Chipotle earlier. It could be a bad Chipotle. But I was like, let me just get checked out. And, they checked me out and they gave me like these emergency pills that if I ever feel like it's the big one, I need to take it. And, but it scared me at one point because I thought, okay, well, I mean, it just scared me. Like I'm thinking, okay, I could go. Like this is it. And that's very very scary. Like when you're facing, when you're like, okay, I don't know what's happening to me, but I could knock out any second now and not know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I got stuck in a real bad storm one time, coming from North Texas after a wrestling show. And literally on my phone, it was telling me tornado warning or a tornado, take shelter now. And I'm on 35 in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere to take shelter. So I'm thinking, and I can't see, it's so dark. So I'm thinking, okay, if the tornado's coming, I'm not knowing where it's coming from. I'm going to die out here. Like that's how, and so that's another time where I thought, well, fuck, this is it, And so I was very, very scared, you know, and it just like that, you start thinking like when you have those near death kind of things, you're like, okay. And a friend of mine, actually, it's a female friend. I'm not going to reveal her name because she'd probably kill me if I did and she heard it. But she shot me a text. We had communicated and she was just like, hey, I was like, how was your weekend? Or she asked me how mine was. I was like, well, mine was good. I wrestled, whatever. I said, well, how was yours? She goes, well, I died.
What?
And I was like, I'm sorry, you did what? And she was like, I died. And so I was like, how? Like, you're fucking, obviously you're alive, so how did you die? And so she had told me that something had happened. She wound up in the hospital and they couldn't bring her, like they were trying to bring her back or something like that. And she said that, I said, well, okay, because this fascinates me because I'm like, okay, well, they told you died, because they told her that she died and then she, they were able to bring her back or whatever. And I was like, I asked her, I was like, so since you died, well, what'd you see? Like, what happened? And you know what she fucking told me?
Huh.
And this is not going to put me at ease, but
Okay.
she goes, it was black. There was darkness. She goes, I don't remember anything. All I can remember is darkness. Like, and I was like, oh, great. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I was like, please tell me you saw Jesus and you came back. And he's like, it's not your time, sweetheart. Go back down to earth. No, she tells me, oh, it's black. You don't see anything. And I'm like, motherfucker. So and I have a panic attack, because I'm panicking. I'm like, oh, Jesus. And she's like, and then she proceeds to tell me, well, a friend of mine went in, she's like, one of her friends was playing basketball and that he had, I guess, had cardiac arrest. And he died. Well, he came back, but he had this, they brought him back. And he said the same thing. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. Like, you're fucking kidding me. But then I asked her, I was like, well, then again, was she clinically brain dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, were you clinically dead? Because you hear people like near-death experiences and they say that they saw this, they saw relatives and this, and you wonder, is that for real or is that just the brain? You know what I mean?
Well, even if it was the brain, Rob, doing that to you, I mean, you wouldn't know the difference.
No, you wouldn't.
And you'd be okay with that?
No!
Why not?
I want the real fucking thing,
Yeah,
man.
but you wouldn't know the difference, though.
No, because at one point your brain's there's gonna be no activity, and you're gonna be fucking dead, scares me. Like, fuck. Like, it's so scary. Like, and I can't be the only one that has this
No,
phobia.
you're not. You're not. I mean, there's so many people out there.
I feel so alone, Jose.
Oh, come on.
I need therapy right now.
Oh my God.
I do. Like, I just need something to hold on to right now because I feel like I'm gonna just fall.
Oh my God, this podcast did totally the reverse for you. We got to talk about Hulk Hogan. I didn't even get to talk about, I want to talk about Hillary and talk about...
Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
Oh, my girl.
That's your girl. She's coming down to McAllen.
No way.
Yes.
Going to the border? When is she doing that?
I don't know when. I heard on the radio that she's coming down to McAllen to speak to some big wig who actually has some history about doing some hospitals, making some doctors rich, and he's trying to get her to help him out, if you know what I mean. In turn, he's gonna help her out on her campaign. So that's why she's coming down to Texas.
If she, you know what, here we go. You heard it first here. This is an open invitation to Hillary Clinton to come see me wrestle. If she's in McAllen on a Friday night, I will make sure she gets world-class treatment. We sit her in the front row. We'll treat her like a queen. Open invitation to Hillary Clinton to come watch Rob Love wrestle.
Oh man!
Somebody tweet her right now and let her know.
You should do that. Yeah. Somebody should right now.
But anyhow.
And we'll definitely have to have another podcast really, really quick. We ran out of time on this one, but I wanted to you don't have to elaborate like a whole lot, but just give me your thoughts on Bernie Sanders.
I don't know. I can't say that I know too much about Bernie. I know that he has. He's a little. Wait, doesn't he claim himself to be a socialist?
Yes,
he does.
But there's we'll have a podcast to explain why he says that. And also, let's do this. Let's do our homework, and we'll talk about Bernie Sanders on the next podcast, and we'll talk a little bit more about Hillary, your girl, and we'll go from there. We did go kind of crazy, and we got into death, and we got into, anxieties that Rob might have. And I'm sorry I brought all that back up. I didn't mean for that to happen. I'm just okay with letting go. I'm not saying I'm going to do something, but I'm just saying that if it happens, it happens. I'm okay. I love my life. I love doing these podcasts, and I hope we continue doing these podcasts.
Absolutely.
For more time to come, as long as we don't talk about death, because obviously you'll have a panic attack and have to go to the hospital. And
exactly.
So, man. So for all you guys out there, prayers for Rob, if you believe in a higher being, please, because this guy, we need him. We need him to come back to speak about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
I'll be back, God willing. How about that?
God willing. Oh, man. Woo. All right. So if you're listening, thank you for listening. This is the URUR. Again, this is Jose, and this is Rob.
Vaya con Dios.